So what do you think determines the quality of your life? And this is a question that I've been obsessed with for many decades. And the reason I've been obsessed with it is because I knew that, well, how I thought about things wasn't actually going to get me to where I wanted to go. And asking ourselves great questions, as you've known by looking at the other shows that I've had, asking ourselves great questions gives us the opportunity to start unlocking some of the things that we have within our own lives. So what determines the quality of our lives? Before I get into that, let me share a story with you. And you're sitting there watching this video and you're having preconceived notions or ideas or whatever of who you think I am. And actually, who you think I am is not who you think I am. It's a reflection of who you are. And I didn't get here. I got here through a lot of struggle, a lot of different learnings, a lot of different things that I kept pressing through to get me here. And there was a while back, it was a while ago, where I was really getting into internet marketing and expanding my awarenesses and doing the things that I want to do and teaching marketing and things like that. And I made some decisions and made some goals that I really wanted to repurpose my content, if you will. And one of those exercises required me writing. And I started to write, and I had this incredible resistance come up inside of me. And that's really what procrastination is. Procrastination is nothing more than a strategy that's playing inside of us unconsciously. Well, I was procrastinating, and I was getting irritable, I was getting frustrated, and I really didn't understand what was going on. I knew my material very well. I knew what I was talking about and the things that I wanted to put out there and teach people, but there was something that was happening inside of me, and I just could not get my head around it. Well, I pushed through that and started putting up some content, got my blog up to, I was really happy with how that all turned out. Well, then I went down the road and came to another place where it came time for me to write a book. Well, started having some resistance with that and just like, what is this about? What is going on with this thing about me writing? Well, what had happened, I didn't know this until I started looking more and more, there was a decision that I made inside of me. I labeled myself, and because of that label, it was causing all kinds of inner turmoil within myself. So, and the reason I'm sharing this story is because, see, our brain is constantly scanning, what do I pay attention to? What do I pay attention to? And it's just making decisions in nanoseconds. And one of the things that it does is it hijacks us by how it labels things. And to answer the question, what is it that determines the quality of our lives, is the words we use that define it. And we can walk outside one day and go, wow, that's an amazing day. What a beautiful, amazing day. Or we can walk out and go, crap, this day sucks, right? And there's a lot more factors going on than just labeling it, but it's a very crucial part of this, of what I'm going to teach you today. So think about this. Our brain is constantly scanning for what to pay attention to. Then we come across something and we say, I know. Well, two of the most devastating phrases to us growing and expanding is, I know and I disagree. Now, I'm not saying not have an opinion. That is not what I'm saying at all. It's for us to understand, as soon as I say I know something, I've made an assumption, and because I've done that, now our brain wants to just go on to the next thing. I mean, think about it. When somebody says something, you say, I know that. You have just absolutely stopped being present and being interested in what the other person has to say. Or you say, I disagree. Now you've got to defend your position. Either way, you have to defend your position. So what happens with our brain, and this is why labels are so incredibly important, is that we unite with what we say. And we're homeostasis, which means we want to connect and we unite with the different things that we say within ourselves. So think about this. When I say I know about its particular topic, all of a sudden we want to unite with I know. Now we've got to defend that. Or I disagree. So now we want to unite with that, and now we want to defend that. And that starts causing, it stops us from learning. It stops us from being present, because now we want to, as I said, we want to unite with that. So it's very, very important for us to understand the labels that we use on ourselves. This is what hijacks our learning. And what we do, and all this happens in a nanosecond, is if you're walking down the street and you see somebody, say you're a guy and you're walking down the street and you see some gal, instantaneously you're making all kinds of assumptions about this woman. Most of the assumptions are going to be a reflection of who you are. If you're afraid of walking up to her and asking her out, you're going to start justifying why not to ask her out. Or a woman asking a guy out, or whatever it is that we make these instantaneously assumptions and then we put a label on it. For example, we see a doctor. Boom, that's a doctor. Now we want to unite with this, and then we start, and if we have issues with how we see ourselves intellectually, all of a sudden we're going to be intimidated by this doctor because we perceive a doctor as being intellectual, of knowing it all, and that's what we want to unite with around that idea of what we've labeled that person to be. So it's hugely important to lay down these labels. Now, I get, we're going, a car, that's a label, right? But we want to understand that there's much more beyond the label, because the label is what stops us learning and stops us growing. So think about this. Where do our beliefs come from? I think it's a great question to ask people, because we operate from mostly from our beliefs. So where do they come from? Our beliefs come from authority figures, intensity, and repetition. Okay? And this is where we get some of our labels, is through this process of how we grew up. And what I mean by intensity, if somebody has a lot of emotion around something, that infuses into us as a child. So they say that 75% of what we know in our entire lifetime was by the age of 5. I mean, think about that. 75% of what we know in our entire lifetime was by the age of 5. So what does that mean? It means we have all kinds of things running unconsciously within ourselves that we're not even aware of that's driving our lives. So think about it. We see a cat. Oh, that's a cat. We see a dog. There's a tree, whatever. And we're learning all this stuff. And what we're doing is we're creating complexities around these labels. So if I sit here and I tell you a story, I'm a dog lover. I love dogs, and I got a Doberman. And I love my dog, and his name's Adonis. And as I'm telling you about this dog, right now you're thinking about dogs that you've had in your life. And that's just how our brain works. And it's important for us to understand this, is because this starts loosening up some things, and we don't have to defend our position. Friends, we spend so much time trying to control our lives, and that's where we really create unawarenesses, is because we want to think something is what we labeled it, and it's not that. There's so much more to that. I mean, for example, you can look at this, and because of the color of this water, you're wanting to label it. What is that? Well, it's water with pomegranate juice, or a mixture in it. But it's more than just a bottle. This is glass, this is plastic, this is painting. There's so much more to this bottle than a label of bottle. So it's learning to go into the essence of experience. And labeling things denies us that. I was watching this video earlier today and thinking about what I was going to have on this show. And it said labeling undermines all forms of interaction in our daily lives. Because, again, we want to instantaneously think about, so we're walking down the street and we see a black man. Whatever that means to you, that is not a prejudice statement, and anybody that thinks it's a prejudice statement is a reflection of them, not me. I have no issue, I am not a prejudiced man, but if we're having a certain association or a certain experience with a black person, and we see that black person walking down the street, boom, or a white person, or a shaved person. I mean, yeah, and I got this thing going on that makes my head look like a light bulb. It's like I got an idea. And see, I've been shaving my head for 20-some years, and a lot of people thought I was a skinhead because they associated a shaved white man's head with the skinhead. And really that is disrespecting. If I label somebody, what's really going on is I'm disrespecting myself of the opportunity to learn more about what is happening. I'm disrespecting whatever it is that I'm labeling. Perhaps it's a person that I've labeled, of seeing some woman walking however, and I label her as whatever it is. I'm disrespecting her, and I'm disrespecting the interaction of the two of us, of whatever can happen, because the fight or flight thing is real in us. And like I said, our brain is constantly scanning of what do I pay attention to. But there's learning how to trust ourselves in situations that are new. See, life mastery is not about avoiding hurt or being comfortable. That is not life mastery. Life mastery is learning how to anticipate, how to adapt, and how to act into new situations. And what determines our level of development is our ability to adapt into new situations. So you've probably heard the phrase of a person can only receive the level of consciousness that they're at, or a conversation that they're at. Well, there's a lot of truth to that. Is if you're trying to teach, for example, a child that just learned basic arithmetic, you're trying to teach them calculus, you're going to be frustrated and they're going to be frustrated because they haven't developed the awareness or the consciousness to understand what calculus is. So we have to learn where we're at in development, and laying down our labels, we start stepping into this thing of essence. Essence is the beauty of life. I mean, instead of calling a tree, what is this thing? There's bark, and see, even labeling the bark and the trees, but there's so much more. So our brain wants to, like I said, identify things as quick as possible. In our conscious mind, they say there's about 100 million bits of information coming at us every second. 100 million bits of information coming at us every second. And what our conscious mind does is it breaks it down into 134 bits of information. 134 bits of information. So unless we start consciously thinking about what's going on unconsciously, we're going to be stuck in these patterns within our lives that keep us reacting to things. See, we react because we believe in it. So now I'm ready to take this to the next level. So this is what labeling does to us. So how do you identify yourself? What are you? Who are you? When somebody comes up to you and says, who are you? How do you answer that question? Because I am statement is a statement of your destiny. I am great. I am a spiritual being. I am an asshole. Okay? Whatever you say, you're going to unite with that, and your behavior is going to unite with that, and how you see your reality is going to unite with that. So, are you a victor or a victim? Are you blessed and highly favored, or are you disadvantaged? Whatever label you come up with is hugely, hugely important. See, and somewhere along the line, mankind really took a switch, and they thought that abusing ourselves was noble. See, if somebody says, I'm an honest man, I'm a good man, I care about people, I have a lot of value to offer people, saying something like that to somebody that is talking to themselves in the opposite is going to be, they're going to look at somebody like that saying they're arrogant, they're conceited, they're self-centered, blah, 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 but they're looking through the lenses of how they talk to themselves. Is that, see, we think it's noble to put ourselves down. We think it's noble to call ourselves fat. We think it's noble to say, I'm stupid, I'm not intelligent, I'm not sexy. And that is what society has taught us. We are not that. And the problem is that when we call ourselves that, that's how our behavior plays out. That's how our mindset plays out, is because we want to unite with this. And how dare anybody challenge what we think about ourselves? So start thinking about that of, am I feeding myself and my truth and my honesty and my higher purpose in life, or am I draining myself? Am I saying things that invite darkness inside of us? So really, really pay attention to the labels. And this is one of the things when I work with my clients, of really getting into this dialogue that's going on inside of your head. Because, friend, you are the only person, hear me, you are the only person you spend every waking moment of your life with, including when you sleep, obviously, but you're the only one you spend every waking moment with in your life. How are you talking to yourself? This should be the greatest relationship of our lives, because this relationship determines how we see God, it determines how we see this out here, it determines how we treat ourselves. This is the most important conversation to get in real with. And how are you labeling yourself? One of the exercises I give my clients is, and this is going to be challenging, and that's why I'm here, it's a challenge, it is expand your awareness. Go stand in front of a mirror, buck naked. Go stand in front of a mirror, buck naked, and listen to what you call yourself. How do you see yourself? Do you see yourself as an amazing person that just has tons of love? How do you communicate to yourself? What have you labeled yourself as when you're standing in front of that mirror entirely naked? And this is really, really important, because the next part of it is, see, we have somebody label us when we're younger. That's why I said 75% of what we know is by the age of 5. This is our imprint years, okay? We don't have the cognitive ability or conscious ability to filter into this stuff yet. So if somebody says something to us, we take that on and it infuses in us. Now, it doesn't take just one time. It's a lot more complex than that. But we take this label on, And now we see our reality through that. So if somebody calls you you're an amazing human being, or they call you worthless, you're going to take that on and you're going to play through that through the rest of your life until you consciously challenge that belief. So my friend, you are an amazing, amazing human being. Okay, now think about this. We have trillions of cells in our bodies. Okay, we have thousands and thousands of neurological connections every day that each and every one of us is created individually. There's nobody that has ever lived or ever will live or is living right now in this entire universe that's like you. Okay? So I really want you to figure out and get in touch with yourself of how do you label yourself? How do you see yourself? Because I put a post up a couple days ago that said we react to it because we believe it. And these are the labels that we have taken on. I mean, if somebody calls you worthless and you react to it, is because it's a belief inside of yourself. If somebody says, you're an amazing person, and I just love having you in my life, you resonate with that, it's because you believe it inside of you. So if I sat here and told you you are a blue person, you are, I mean, it doesn't matter how much I try to convince you, you are not going to believe that, you are not going to react to it. You're just going like, dude, whatever. Because you don't believe it, okay? So when we react to something, it's because we believe it, because we place the label unconsciously within ourselves. And then, so think about this, is as a child, we took on this label about who we are, and from that point on, we've installed that label deeper and deeper and deeper every single time we use that. And what fires together, wires together. And every single time we have that thought, it makes it easier the next time. See, this stuff, I mean, yeah, I can do some techniques that make some things happen immediately, but it comes down to us conditioning and building the neurology where they become, where the resistance becomes less and less. Every single time you fire that thought of, I'm not stupid, it gets easier to do next time, and it causes more resistance when something comes along in contrary to that. So really think about, how are you labeling yourself? Because it's not what you think you are. You are so much more than what you do for a career. You are so much more than just a mother. You are so much more than just a dad. You are an amazing, amazing human being. You're a spiritual being living out a physical experience, okay? Hey, Richard, it's good to see you, brother. Appreciate you being here. You have a lot to offer, and giving yourself permission to look beyond the opinions of somebody else. See, I've had all kinds of well-meaning people in my life say certain things, but because I knew where I was going, I was able to not challenge them, but be able to challenge what they introduced to me and move beyond that. So I want to finish the story that I was telling you about this challenge that I had about me learning to write and things like that. See, when I was in second grade, I had some things happen. That's when my parents divorced. And when we have emotional experiences, it makes us more vulnerable to some things. And I didn't realize this back then, but I was going through some challenging times, and I had a couple people, teachers and things like that, that many times said things like, what are you, stupid? What are you, stupid? Simple, well-meaning people that I can look back now and go, they were probably just wanting to guide me back onto where I was at. But when I was writing, what was causing all this resistance inside of me was I made a decision that I was not intellectually brilliant or whatever. I wasn't an intelligent person. I was stupid. How can a stupid person write something? And that, when I hit that and got it, was like, oh my gosh, I made this decision. And as soon as I let that decision go and started looking at the facts by asking caring people around me of going, what do you see in this? And getting people that support me radically changed that. And I was able to write ferociously from that point on. So what labels have you taken on? What labels are aligned with where you want to go in your life? That's hugely important, because if you want to create great things in your life, which is what love is, right? And think about that. What does love mean to you? That's a label. Well, I love my dog. I love my wife, I love my husband, I love my sister. They're all different types of love. So it's really looking beyond, what do these labels mean to you? Looking into the essence of life. Appreciate the things that are around you, my friend, and your life will become so much more rich. Look beyond the labels. because our brain, like I said, wants to go, boom, there's a label, and deletes all the other information that goes along with it. So really step into your greatness, because you're an amazing human being. You're an amazing person. There's no one on this planet like you in this entire universe. And you have, if you sit there right now as you're listening to me, you have something deep down inside of you that wants to come out. Wants to come out, that wants to be brought to life. And what is stopping it? It's the labels that we've taken on. Give yourself permission to step into your greatness. Give yourself permission to see, and the more I've done this, the more I understand, the more I've become more aware of this, of when I've made decisions like that, all of a sudden it's like God, the universe, whatever you want to call it, conspires to serve whatever it is that I set out to do. But we've got to give ourselves permission to believe these kinds of things. Friend, what labels do you choose? And I really encourage you to do the exercise of standing in front of the mirror naked and listening, paying attention to how you're talking to yourself. Because these words are shaping your destiny. These labels are shaping your destiny. See, it's people that struggle with overeating, it's a label issue. And there's some other things along with it as well, but it's understanding it's how they see themselves. How bodybuilders, it's how they see themselves. It's looking at the labels. It's making your unconscious conscious. And that's one of my favorite, and you're going to hear me say this a bunch of times on these shows. If we do not make our unconscious conscious, it will control our lives, and we will call it fate. Friend, dig down below what surface level is. Majority of people on this planet think very surface. They think they're very surface level, and get down beyond that and really look at yourself and ask yourself, how do I see myself? Who am I? What are the labels that I put on? What are the things that I've done that have allowed me to be who I am? Because your labels are shaping your destiny. Your labels are shaping your destiny. And look beyond them. You are so much more than any label. And it's, that label creates that complexity, and then we start creating things around it that align with who we are, and it affects our behavior, it affects all of that. So when we react, it's out of these labels. Like I said, I took on this decision that I was stupid. Some people said I had shit for brains, and I took that literally. And it's well-meaning people that just wanted to guide me and have me be supportive and step into my greatness, but I took it in a different way. And you are welcome to walk beyond your opinions of other people. It is your life. It is your life. Take responsibility for your life and how you see yourself, and step into your greatness, because you absolutely do deserve to have everything you desire in your life. Think about it. Desire means of the Father. It's a Latin word that says of the Father, and I love that. So really get in touch with who you are, my friend, because it is your time. It is your time to make great things happen. This world is changing. There's a lot of amazing things happening. And look beyond the label. Until then, my friend, by all means, comment below, like this video, and share it with somebody else out there, because we need to raise consciousness in this world, and we need to let go of these labels that hold us prison. Friend, live like your life depends on it, because it does. And I appreciate you being here. Again, comment below, share this video, and again, subscribe by hitting the live button. Live, subscribe.